Any warning. I just pushed the button.
That was early and on purpose. That was.
And often.
And
hey, welcome to the WP Water Cooler. It's episode number something.
It's episode number off the rails because there's no Jason here, and we're all feeling a little.
Oh yeah, Jason's not here when the cat's away.
It's episode. It's episode 281.6 is what it is.
No, it's .8. .10.
It's .10. Yeah.
It's absolutely .10.
Anyway,
actually,
let's start with introductions. We're going to start right at the beginning with Mike. Mike, tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you?
My name is Michael Nussbaum. I'm
what
a
are you
project
doing here?
manager. Yeah, who are you? What is your purpose? Project manager at Zeek Interactive. I've been here it'll be a year next month. Things are going well.
Sweet.
What's your favorite pizza? What's your favorite movie?
Russ, what's your favorite pizza?
My favorite pizza is not Canadian bacon and Hawaiian, that's for sure.
I like pineapple.
That's Hawaiian.
I don't
Controversial.
I'm Russ. I work at Web Dev Studios, and I teach a class in Vegas, and I do a lot of, just like marketing and stuff in general.
Maybe you might want to refine. I teach a class in Vegas.
I mean, there's no rules about it. It's just a class.
It's a class. It's in Vegas. Draw your own conclusions.
Yeah.
There
may or may not be a poll. Say.
Yeah. I want to see that syllabus. Me. Who am I? Who am I? My name's Say Reed, and I make WordPress, teach WordPress, preach WordPress. I do a bunch of other stuff too. And basically, lately, I bitch WordPress.
Ooh, wow.
Sorry.
That's all right. I am Steve Zangen.
That's my job now.
I am Steve Zangen. I'm the founder of Zeek Interactive, and I run the OC WordPress meetup. And welcome to the show. Allegedly. What are we talking about today?
Welcome to the alleged show.
Yeah. Without Jason, there's no structure.
Without Jason, there's no rock, I think, and there's no foundation. There's a structure, but it's more like the crystalline entity.
Excuse me.
I mean, I'm kind of curious. Why do you say that you're bitching WordPress lately?
That's what I feel like. I feel like all I've been doing lately.
Oh, I thought you meant you're bitching WordPress.
No.
Oh.
Or I'm going to say something. I'm a bitch in WordPress. What? Oh, burn. See, I can do that because I'm a woman. You can't do that. There's some things you can't say. Okay.
So,
like, be a bitch.
Do you?
You're a bitch in WordPress too.
Do you feel like you're doing a lot of like defense with WordPress? Like people are saying like things, and you're like having to combat that, or like what is it about it?
Well, I'm glad you asked that. I'm glad you asked that, Russ. No, that's not actually the case lately. I've been doing that forever. Basically, since like anything else came out, I've been like I don't want to call it defending WordPress because that sounds like it needs defense, but I've been advocating for, I would say. So that's. I
love the Albert Brooks movie. Defending WordPress was excellent.
Mel Brooks.
Go on.
Yeah, and now I'm just thinking about Mel Brooks jokes. Thanks. What was I talking about? Okay, bitching in WordPress. So I just feel like there's so much going on and in the community, and I feel like just the roles that I'm in right now are leading me to talk about WordPress in the big picture and in like kind of the larger structure of comparing it as a CMS, thinking about the future of WordPress, talking about the growth of WordPress through the Growth Council, and and there's just so much kind of there's a definite feeling of competition that's happening now that wasn't there before, and not in the WordPress community, but with other entities that are out there, and we've all been waiting for all the changes to come through, but at the same time, we're kind of bitching about those changes a little bit because, they're not being handled. So it just feels like it's been a tense WordPress year overall. That's why I say that. That was my long answer.
What it feels like for me is like, I'm just like I'm a person who just like wants to get things done right away. Like I just want Gutenberg rolled out tomorrow. I want to know what's gonna break on my client site, and I want to know like
this drawn out nonsense.
Yeah, like let's get on with it. Like what am I gonna do to fix this? How do we move on? Because like I'm tired of talking about it. I'm tired of finding out that it's coming out in September, not October. Like pick one, let's go.
I want answers.
I do.
I want the truth.
Well, I mean, and the
You
thing
can't
is,
handle the truth.
Maybe I can.
Okay, but this is the thing, right? It's because we want that to be happening, and at the same time, we also understand open source development and the things that come into it, and the larger picture of millions of websites all over the world using WordPress. So I think it's that tension right now that I'm really talking about, in that I'm wanting it to move forward and frustrated, and also just want to get back to like being able to tell people why WordPress is great. I especially feel right now onboarding new people to WordPress is in a weird space. Like, so Russ, you're teaching this upcoming, you're teaching this beginning WordPress class that you mentioned. And I was really wondering, so hence I'm asking, like, what are you teaching? What's your dashboard look like? Like, what is your text editor? Are you teaching Gutenberg? Are you teaching the classic editor? Like, what's your choice there?
So like the answer is yes to both. Like, so basically it's like, okay, here's the domain, and here's how you hook it up to a host, and here's how you find like a host that's going to take care of you, like, so you don't get trapped in that whole, like, is my host good? Are they being bought out? So it's that. But then when you get to the dashboard, you're exactly right. Like, my kind of initiative is I'm going to do this thing. And I found two plugins. It's Gutenberg, and then there's one called Gutenberg something that says like keep all my posts the way that they are, and only new
posts. That's a long plugin name.
Yeah. It's like Gutenberg Ramp or something like that, and it's basically like any new posts will be getting written in Gutenberg, but all my old posts will be left. And I'm kind of teaching that just because like it's coming, it's going to be a thing, and I don't want somebody to take my class and then be like, hey, this isn't what you showed me, and then have it come back. Like, I'm kind of stuck in that right now. Wait, say
you're muted.
Yeah, you're muted.
I was gonna say that's exactly what I mean, because it's this weird time where we are, especially those of us who bring onboard people to WordPress. I feel like I've been in that space for like more than 6 to 9 months. Like since last year, I've been like, hold on, let me show you in a minute. And you can't do that with business. You can't do that with websites. So you're just, I've just been onboarding people to the old stuff, and then,
I find businesses will just wait for me to figure stuff out.
Whenever you're ready.
Especially the startups. They're like, it's cool. Just wait till that code's figured out, and then I'll totally start my whole business that I've been planning for 3 years.
But like as you start playing with Gutenberg, it kind of looks like a page builder. So then it gets into that conversation like, is this a page builder? Is it not? Is it this? How does it compare to Visual Composer? And it's just like, I'm doing so much explanation for something that like isn't there yet.
That's exactly it. You're like, theoretically, this will be like this, but in reality, I'm not actually sure, because it could change.
I'm like Gutenberg agnostic. That's what it is.
I am also. I'm like, once we get there, whatever happens, happens.
It's a lot of something that is not real yet.
Maybe I'll use it. Maybe I won't.
So it sounds like this has created a bit of a PR nightmare for WordPress, if that's a thing.
I think that is what's happening inside the community specifically. And I think outside the community, people are either hearing about it and it's just bouncing off of them because they don't actually understand what you're talking about. When you're like, oh, new text editor, they're like, whatever. But I think that is the kind of the confusion within the community is spilling out in people's choices and what they advocate for. I haven't been teaching my WordPress beginning classes for that reason.
I think it starts further back, because like I think it's kind of like WordPress's version of fake news, because like
Gutenberg is fake news.
No. What I'm saying is like I read an article from 10up, and like it's an amazing article about Gutenberg, and then I read stuff that we do at WebDev, and then I read something at Zeek, and I don't know which one's right because Gutenberg is this theoretical thing that's being built every night. I don't know which one's correct. I kind of feel like I don't know which to choose, that's kind of my struggle. Is like I'm reading everything and they're all kind of overlapping each other, and I just don't know which one I need to go with.
When was Gutenberg announced?
Last year.
Last year at some point.
When
right?
was
The beginning.
The beginning of last year. So it's been a year and a half.
I think it was actually announced. No, I wasn't at that WordCamp, so I know we were that WordCamp US. So I know we were talking about it. Obviously,
the second WordCamp Philly, so December of 2016.
That's when I think that's when the conversation started. But don't quote me on that.
I think
I'll get back to you with details.
I think you're right, but even just let's say for argument's sake, it was last WordCamp in December of 2017. 7 months have passed since then, so even that is too long, right? It's too long. Things move really fast in this space, and so for that just to be in limbo for that long is bound to create a PR nightmare.
I feel like we're almost at the end of it, right? Because we've got the 4.9.8 coming out the release version is going to be done on the 24th, they said, and then the prompter, which we were talking about, like I think it was last episode, given Josh all that grief for the UX that he's not building, but that prompt is coming in the next one at the end of the month, and then they're going to see. This is per the last update that I read, and then they're going to see in terms of adoption how that goes and what people are doing. I can't wait to see that data. I mean, that's right. Like that's the data we need. Like who opts out? Everybody.
I just did a quick Google search for WordPress 5.0 and WordPress 5.0 release date. Nobody knows. There's no consistency here.
I'm looking at WP Tavern /tag/Gutenberg, and I'm on page 9, and this says WordPress core editor team publishes UI prototype for Gutenberg in quotations in experimental block-based editor, and this is February 22nd of 2017.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's on WP Tavern right now.
Right. So that was before, obviously before last year's WordCamp. So that's why I think we started talking about this at that other WordCamp. I wasn't there though, so I was maybe not.
I seen an article June 22nd from WP Tavern where Gutenberg editor is now available as a plugin for testing. June 22nd of 2017.
Yeah, so we're talking about a year, and this is the thing, right? Like this is where that conflict is coming from, because I understand the process. I definitely think we shouldn't just switch over to a new thing without all of that.
I'm seeing an article about Gutenberg dating back to 1394.
Who's that guy?
I believe that goes back to the Spanish Armada.
I think that was the second WordCamp US.
I do think that
Gutenberg rock. Oh, I love it.
Gutenberg is really, I think, an amazing name, and I think it really captures what we're talking about with it. Only if people understand what the hell we're talking about, though. So otherwise, it's just like people are like, that doesn't mean anything to me.
So say you mentioned something earlier where you're treating this as a text editor, right? And you're considering it. I mean, because that's what WordPress is
I'm treating
as, right?
I'm treating what as a text editor?
Gutenberg as a text editor. You're training on it as a text editor, but I mean, is it more of it's more of a page builder? It's not just a text editor, right? I mean, but it's
replacing the text editor, and so that's the main thing. Like I've always explained WordPress's text editor as like a Word doc or things like that, because the clients that I deal with are from the Word doc era a lot of the time.
Sure.
So that's how I've described it. So when I say page builder, those people, they have no idea what I'm talking about. That doesn't mean anything to them, so the thing that does mean something to them is talking about blocks and things like that, which, that you'll be able to manipulate and organize the text. I really use the example of columns. Pretty much that's the example.
But here's
you can now make columns. Yeah.
But here's the thing. Mike is the demographic that we're talking about, right? He's not a developer, right?
Is he? I don't know.
He's not a coder. He's a project manager. He's a WordPress power user, but a dashboard power user, right? Sure. So understands what it means when you're talking about text editor, page builders, things like that. He's confused on what Gutenberg is, right? And so, and that's the target demographic we're talking about here.
I wholeheartedly agree, and like we're doing this thing at WDS that we're building, like we're getting blocks ready, we're getting things, and like the comparisons that we're doing, like our ACF builds are just so much cleaner and faster than anything that we're doing in these blocks. I mean, like it's crazy to see like how we're going with these things. Like I would prefer if this was just called Gutenberg ACF and like let's just let it roll that way.
So okay, like you since you brought that up, let me ask Mike. We're gonna do a quick little test here. What's a block?
So a block is, in my knowledge,
when two people love each other very much,
and one person gets in the way. That's what that is.
A defensive move.
It's a defensive move.
So in my limited development knowledge, my idea of a block is like a meta field or like a meta box in ACF, an actual block, either content or something that separates. It's more of a container that separates a chunk of code, a chunk of text, or a different type of function that would be in like a TinyMCE. So it could be text, it could be image, it could be right.
Pretty close.
That's good. So that's.
I mean, that's essentially what it is, right? You know, but he works for you, Steve. Like, come on, this is not like you're like he's our target market.
Yeah. Let's be clear. You don't want to work for me. He works with me.
So here's my question though.
Okay.
Is Beaver Builder now also being challenged by Gutenberg, or is ACF more being challenged by Gutenberg?
We don't know.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's why I asked Say about text editor, because I feel like Gutenberg's more than just a text editor. It's challenging Beaver Builder. It's challenging ACF.
Divi.
It's so vague that people don't know how to explain it. They don't know how to touch it.
Yeah.
So, well, basically, like things like page builders, like Divi, for example. Basically, what they're doing is just changing the text editor, right? So everything else is the same in their world, except for if you put in a text block, then it's a Guten block. I'm pretty sure that's correct. So they're kind of just building around it, as it were. I don't know about Beaver Builder specifically, but I would assume that's the same thing they're doing, right? And just kind of limiting the Guten to the text block.
The Guten.
I'm Guten free. I'm Guten free.
I was gonna say, can we coin that phrase on WP Water Cooler that you're gluten free and
gluten free.
We're not getting our Gutenberg from the cheap Mexican wheat. Like it's that.
I'm GF. I can make that joke because I'm actually celiac, so that's.
I mean,
anyway, so we all seem sort of frustrated. This is the thing. We've been talking about this, and there's other stuff to talk about, but it feels like everything is on hold. Like, I can't even like explore new plugins right now. I'm like, how are they going to work with Gutenberg? Nobody really knows. Like, and it's this drawn out thing that is, I guess it's almost over. So maybe we are just in the last throes, the dark before dawn or whatever.
I don't feel that way. I don't feel that it's almost over.
Well,
really?
So
no. Just lie to me. Damn.
No, I don't. I'm not seeing the light at the end of the tunnel.
I have seen experienced WordPress people that I look up to, and they have asked questions like, "Hey, when I install Gutenberg, how do I go back to the classic editor?" And I have seen other smart people say, "Install this plugin called the classic editor," and on that it says like, "Don't install on a production site." So I mean, like, the own plugin that is supposed to be the solution for the classic editor says, "Don't install this on a live website." Like, even that whole circle is just like not happening for me right now. I am confused about this, and I feel pretty darn solid that I know WordPress as something, you know.
I mean, like, you know WordPress. You've been working in the space. You've been developing.
We dated a few times.
And then those damn blocks came in.
So here's my question.
I bought it a few drinks. It didn't go well. It was fine.
Definitely bought a couple drinks.
So it sounds to me this is almost like a hidden moving target, almost like where Apple doesn't reveal any details until they actually launch.
Which we should have done.
That's the problem.
So my question is, who is managing the release, and does anybody have any context?
Oh.
Sorry.
Sorry. Sorry, that's just the PM in me.
Question.
That's just the PM in me asking questions, trying to.
I am certainly not trying to disparage the lead of WordPress 5.0. Like, why would you do that? I'm not doing that. That's not necessarily the takeaway here. I think the takeaway is, you know what? This is the problem. I don't know what the takeaway is. This is the problem. Like, we're not anywhere.
Right.
I think Mike is asking who is the lead. Who's responsible for this? Come on, say. Out with it.
I said it. You just didn't hear me.
I think
cool.
you muted.
It's Matt.
That's a weird cough. You should get that checked out.
Mark Zuckerberg. I mean, what? Dude, I didn't.
Oh my God, no, dude! If Zuckerberg came in and was the lead of WordPress 5.0, we'd have this. We'd never get this.
No, but to be real, you know,
Gutenberg would become like photo sharing.
You'd just be too busy testifying to Congress. So at least that's not happening. So that's good.
Yes.
No, I think this is the thing. I think Gutenberg is essential. I think the block building is essential. I think pulling up a post and not being able to make columns or image blocks for my small business clients is driving people to Wix and Squarespace, which are totally subpar platforms. And that's what's happening. They're moving there because they can move the stuff around. So I am 100% in on Gutenberg. That's what, like, that's the rub here. I'm totally in. I'm all the way in, but like, this has been a nightmare rollout. And then I guess we should take some responsibility for not having joined up on the team because, it's an open source community and we're all supposed to be participating and I haven't done any bug testing. So who the hell am I to even speak, right? At that point, I don't know.
But like Steve was saying, that like this WordPress space is kind of like asynchronous. It's like, if you're going to get involved in Gutenberg, like you better start learning React. But if we switch to this newest version of React, you're going to have to go start learning that. And then we're going to throw in like this other like programming language. It's like, it's hard to like I came in like 2007 and like WordPress tutorials were kind of slowly rolling out. And like, if I came in today wanting to learn WordPress, and if I started where I started in 2007, I would never catch up. It would be impossible. So like,
there's no even clear understanding of what that is. That's something, that the Growth Council is talking about a lot is like, who are we serving? Who are these people? Like how do we get them from knowing about WordPress, whether they're pre-dev or just pre-user? Right now, we're kind of just scaring off everybody.
But I mean, I've seen a lot of people that are doing these beginner classes, not just myself, but like, it's because like, I don't want anybody to get left behind. I want somebody to come to my meetup and just know that when I'm saying that here's a plugin is going to either add functionality or remove functionality or change functionality. That is just the truth. Like it's not this plugin that's going to like blow up everything. That's all it's doing is either introducing, removing, or changing data. So like at like a 10,000, 20,000 foot view, that's all that I'm trying to do is just catch people up and say, this is how WordPress rolls. Here's how it goes. Here's a page or whatever. This Gutenberg thing, we don't know. Don't worry about that yet. You should just know this.
I mean, and that core understanding of WordPress, plugins, themes, pages, posts, that's not going away. So that's still
foundation, yeah.
That's still foundational core stuff. But when you are talking about the text editor, which is, essentially where this puppy is going, that is literally everything for a content management system. So training new business owners or new users or whatever on that system for something that's going to change is redundant, I guess, or like, here, have this for 6 months. They're not easy to train, these people. You know what I mean? Like, that's why we have to train them to get on this system.
I mean, these people, I tell you.
These people. I love these people, but it's true. This particular demographic.
Not only that, but I mean, like, so I've installed a very vanilla version of WordPress, and I'm using 2017, and I'm using Gutenberg there, and I'm just trying to see, like, okay, how does it roll in, like, a core theme? And then I have my theme that I got off of Theme Forest, and I'm like, all right, now what's the difference? And just trying to compare those two things, like that is almost a full-time job, and that's my own personal site. That's not even something that my client's using because they're using Divi or Enfold, or they're using something like the amount of research to compare it to core to like whatever my client is using. Like it's time consuming, and it sucks.
And that's for one site.
And I can't even write documentation for it because it's not even out yet. We don't even have a 1.0 or like, hey, this is where we think it's going to be. It's still changing.
So
I think I have to join on this documentation so we can have some documentation for, I mean, not that I'll come in and save everybody, not like that. Just like maybe you, Russ, and me, for example, need to get on the documentation for Gutenberg so that we have this stuff to give to our clients, next month or in 2 months or something.
So it's a good thing we never inherit sites that have Visual Composer.
That's so good. That would suck if we did that and had to untangle all of that.
The part to all of this that I hate is like I see companies, they're trying to capitalize on this Gutenberg by they have an add-on for Gravity Forms called Gravity Forms Gutenberg add-on, and like it's another thing that you have to buy in order to like make this work. Like it's not even out yet, but they're already selling this product. I love Gravity Forms. Like, please don't take it as disrespect that I'm saying that
this is our episode. We love you. Don't take this as disrespect.
But I'm just saying that
you never want to get mentioned on a water cooler.
I'm just saying that instead of like saying, hey, we're Gutenberg compatible, it's like, hey, please go buy this other thing, and like even they don't know what's going on yet. So I mean, like, the only available solution is to install an add-on, and who knows if that's going to be the final thing, if they're going to roll it into Gravity. Just nobody knows.
So here's my question: is Gutenberg going to affect even all of these themes that are out on Elegant Themes, Theme Forest? Is everybody? This is basically making everybody pause their operations and pause their business.
This is very much.
Actually, that's the problem. No, they're not. They're not pausing.
Oh, no one can pause. That's not a real thing.
Pause.
I mean, yeah. So are people just guest building, guest developing because they don't have clarity? It sounds to me
that's what we're doing.
Yes, and then my next question is, in regards to themes, I'll get back to my next question. I forgot it.
but I mean. Yes. I work on the support side of Web Dev Studios, and we have 300 plus clients, and like I'm I'm scrambling trying to figure out like what am I going to say to this client that I know that
you're going to be flooded.
Well, first of all, I control updates, so like, am I even going to update some people to 5.0? I don't know what that answer is, and if I don't, what am I going to say, hey, client, by the way, you're going to hear that 5.0 came out. I can't update you because of this. I don't even know what to say in that situation, let alone, hey, you're like WP Engine, you check the defer box, but they went ahead and update you anyway. So like, I have to have an answer for that. Then I have to have an answer for like, how come this theme is this way, or how come this plugin's broken? Now, like, does Gutenberg work with PHP 7? Does your host not have that? There's just so many variables. Take out Gutenberg alone. There's just so many variables with PHP by itself. But now you throw in Gutenberg in it. I find myself writing rebuttals more than like trying to come up with solutions.
So
that's why I feel in this weird space. That's why I started this episode by saying that specifically, because I'm like, I want to be solution focused, but the train is moving, and I'm like, wait, hey, I can't even get ahead of the train to offer solutions there because it feels like the train is way out of the station.
Unfortunately, we can't tell how fast it's moving.
Yeah, it's just what?
It is moving, right?
I do liken this in a way to, you remember Mobilegeddon, was that last year, 2 years ago?
2 years ago.
With Google, and it was like, oh my God, Mobilegeddon, everyone has to have mobile-friendly sites or your site's going to be completely erased from Google. And then, basically, we laughed about that on the show, but it was like, hey, it's making more work for us, right? Because now every single client is like, excuse me, I need you to do this. This is not working. Or the same thing that happened with, or similar thing that happened with the GDRP to a lesser degree.
GDPR.
This shit, I can never say that right. GDPR. And then now we've got Gutenberg where that's coming through in the same way. And it's like, I like on one hand, it's like, cool, I should really be talking to all my old clients who I know don't have current web devs and be like, oh, I'm going to fix that for you. So in a way, it's like, great, I have all this extra work. But in another way, it's like, I feel bad, selling my services, like what you're saying with like Gravity Forms. Okay, don't feel bad. But like, I'm just saying, like, I'm recommending these people go into a system that then they need my help in order to develop and fix. And I don't know, this is a little weird.
Mike, one last comment.
Yep. So I see where your confusion is say, and my question is, why are we challenging Gutenberg? If it is a guaranteed bake into WordPress, should we start embracing it more? Should we start learning more and testing and developing?
Yes, that's what we really should be doing.
What's the concern about doing that? Is it that we don't have enough time to do that, or should each of us dedicate more resources on our own companies?
I think we should just be bitching more. And on that note, it's 11:30. It's time to wrap. Russ, one final comment.
I'm just waiting for the first release candidate, so I can just say, like, this is what we think it's going to be in core, and then we can go from there. Until then,
at least they froze the features, right? So that's good. So we've had to stop. So it's not a total panic button situation, but
I wish there was an easy button.
Check us out on, I don't know what Jason says. Check us out on YouTube. Click the links. Go to WP Blab. There's other shows on this network. Have a great weekend.